Styx, Shards of Darkness is a dark stealth adventure game set in a fantasy elven city. Styx is a kind of goblin who is a master of stealth. You can feel the dark fantasy vibes as you explore creepy abandoned towns, moody mansions, and plenty of outdoor settings. This is a pure stealth game, where you have to focus on hiding in the shadows and destroying the enemies from afar. Styx can fight, but he's not that skilled at doing so compared to his sneaky tactics. If stealth adventures are your thing, then Styx, Shards of Darkness provides a nice dark fantasy game. Diablo 3. Reaper of Souls is an outstanding solo or co-op action-adventure RPG set in a truly eerie environment where you must fight to save the remnants of humanity. In this game you can choose from a wide variety of characters such as Witch Doctor, Barbarian, Demon Hunter and even Monk. Diablo 3. Reaper of Souls does a great job of taking on the high fantasy things seen in its analogs, but adds horror flourishes like spooky cemeteries and decrepit villages. The action here is non-stop as you defeat hordes of evil minions to get even better loot to power up and upgrade your customizable character. Vampyr. The Masquerade Bloodlines is a cult game. Because there are many reasons for this. This traditional RPG turns heads with intense first or third-person action, plenty of vampire power, and some thoughtful dialogue options that completely change the story and characters. Bloodlines presents us with a gothic city of Los Angeles, where vampires and humans coexist, but the vampires try to hide it. The fantasy here is more like a horror game with everything supernatural, but this is a must-play experience for fans of vampires and spooks. Bloodborne may be the best example of dark fantasy on this entire list, as the explorable world of Aharnam is one part beautiful, one part stunning, and all parts haunting. As a hunter, you are tasked with tracking down all kinds of terrifying monsters and saving the fantasy city from being devastated by an unimaginable darkness. The locations and monsters you encounter in Bloodborne and the intrigues of nightmares, from grotesque swamp creatures eager to send you to your death, to large fleshy savages. Bloodborne is first and foremost a strategic action-adventure game, but it packs plenty of mysticism and RPG elements to keep you moving forward even on tough challenges. Hunter. The Reckoning is an Xbox game featuring vampires, werewolves, ghosts and other creatures of all kinds. You have a mission to get rid of these monstrosities of a dark-toned world created by any means necessary, while often trying to save the hapless citizens in need. Set from an isometric perspective, Hunter. The Reckoning offers multiple action battles with a large arsenal to choose from. One of the features that makes the game special is the intense and sad boss battles. The game takes place in a more modern setting, but the dark fantasy vibes come into play with the inclusion of magic and otherworldly beings. In Vampyr, a man in a very difficult situation, Dr. You play as Jonathan Reed. Dr. Reed is both a famous transfusion doctor and a vampire. Set in London in the late 19th century, Vampyr is pure dark fantasy bliss. This game is all about the supernatural in a gothic setting, although it isn't adorned with the high fantasy effects found in similar games. What makes Vampyr stand out is the plethora of seductive vampire abilities for you to unlock and explore. If you want to be unfortunately fed on the blood of civilians or to stick to a more correct path, you are given the right to choose in this game. Whichever path you choose will affect the course of this story. Among the 4 different Darksider games, Darksider 2 may be the right choice for providing a quality dark fantasy experience. In Darksiders 2, we rule death, one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. From snowy and icy mountain peaks to open fields and eerie castles, you can explore a wide variety of places like death. Darksiders 2 has a lot to offer. The gameplay here is varied and fun, with a loot-focused system where death can wield a wide range of swords, scythes, axes, hammers and the like. Just the great soundtrack of this game will make you feel like you are in an Alice. Madness Return is an underrated gem of a game from the Xbox 360 and PS3 gaming era. You take on the title role of Alice, who is about to go insane after losing her family in a devastating house fire that she may or may not have had anything to do with. Alice. Madness Returns takes the magic of Alice but reverses it, presenting a very dark and spooky version of the classic story. This is a game that enjoys the horror side of the otherwise quite vivid and fantastical Alice story. The monster Mass Effect 2 might be an odd entry on this list, as it's more of a sci-fi adventure, not exactly a fantasy game. However, dismissing Mass Effect 2 as a mere sci-fi game belittles what is undoubtedly a dark fantasy, albeit in a sci-fi setting. The world and lore surrounding Commander Shepard, Normandy, the Reapers, Shadowheart is a dark horror-themed RPG from the PS2 era that stars Yuri as she navigates various and creative fantasy locations to save her love from dark despair. Make no mistake, the original Shadowhearts is a thoroughly horror RPG, but it has enough traditional fantasy tropes to keep it in this subgenre. The